Chapter 1. They stole my grandmother's entire estate and rewrote her will while she was still alive, then told everyone I was unstable, that I was imagining the missing money. But what they didn't know was I had already traced every hidden transfer, every offshore account, and handed it all to a federal attorney. And at 6:12 a.m., the morning they thought they had won, agents showed up at their door with warrants, froze everything they owned, and by the end of that week, the same people who called me crazy were facing charges that would put them behind bars. And the only thing they never figured out was that I had been building this case from the moment they thought I broke. I'm your host, and this is not just a family betrayal story. This is what real revenge looks like when you let the law do the damage. I remember that moment with a kind of clarity that does not fade. Not because it was loud, but because it was so quiet it felt unreal. I was standing on the staircase in my parents' house, holding my 6-month-old daughter against my chest. Her head rested under my chin, warm and steady, her small breath brushing my skin. My father stood a few steps above me, looking down like he was measuring something. Not a person, not his daughter, but a situation. He did not raise his voice. He did not look angry. He just said it like a decision that had already been made. You are making this harder than it needs to be. For a second, I did not understand what he meant. I shifted my weight, adjusting the way I held my daughter. Then he stepped down, closing the distance just enough to make my body react before my mind did. I moved back. My heel missed the edge. Everything slowed. I tightened my arms around my daughter, pulling her in as close as I could. My back slammed into the edge of the stair behind me. Pain shot up my spine, sharp and immediate, but I did not let go. I could not let go. In that exact second, one thought cut through everything else. If I lose my grip, she falls. And I do not think he would have caught her. She did not cry. She just held on to me, her tiny fingers pressing into my shirt, like she trusted me to not let anything happen. That was the part that broke something in me. When I looked up, he was still there. He had not rushed down. He had not reached for me. He had not even asked if I was okay. He just stood there. And somehow that scared me more than the fall. That was the moment something shifted. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just permanently. This was no longer a misunderstanding. This was control, and I was starting to see how far it went. I did not call the police. I did not tell my relatives. I did not even mention it at work. The only person I told was my husband. Ryan listened without interrupting. He did not question why I had not reported it. He did not tell me what I should have done differently. He just sat there, his jaw tightening slightly like he was locking something in place. "We will protect her no matter what," he said. That was it. No lecture, no panic, just certainty. And for the first time in a long time, I did not feel completely alone. I grew up outside Denver, in a quiet suburb where everything looked stable from the outside. My father owned a small property management company called Crestline Holdings. It was not a large business, but it brought in steady income, enough to keep things comfortable. Comfortable just never included me. My older brother, Daniel, was always the priority. When he wanted to go to college, my parents paid his tuition in full. When he needed a car, they surprised him with one. When he changed career paths more than once, they called it growth. When I turned 18, I got a reminder that rent was due if I planned to stay. At the time, I told myself it was fair, that they were teaching me independence. Now I understand it was something else. I learned early how to take care of myself. I worked through school, took out loans, built something steady without expecting help. By 2017, I was working as a records compliance specialist at a regional hospital network. It was not glamorous, but it required precision. I reviewed documentation, tracked inconsistencies, and made sure everything could be verified. If something was wrong, I was trained to find it. If someone tried to hide something, I was trained to notice the gap. That mindset stayed with me. I met Ryan in 2018. He was an electrician, union-trained, consistent in a way that felt rare. He did not talk about big plans or make promises he couldn't keep. He just showed up every day, the same person. My parents never approved. Not openly, not in a way that would start a direct argument, just small comments that carried more weight than they seemed. "He's a good guy," my mother would say, "but is that really enough?" They never asked if I was happy. They asked what he provided. We got married anyway. For a while, I kept my distance from my family. It was easier that way. Less tension, fewer conversations that left me feeling like I had to explain my own life. Then I got pregnant. For a moment, I thought everything might reset. People say a child brings families back together. I wanted to believe that. When my daughter was born in early 2024, I brought her to my parents' house with a kind of cautious hope I hadn't felt in years. My mother looked at her, smiled briefly, and said, "She's cute," then turned away. She did not hold her. She did not ask how I was doing. She did not ask anything that would have acknowledged what had just changed in my life. It felt like my daughter was being observed, not welcomed. After that, the comments started. "Girls are expensive. You need to think long term. Some decisions are bigger than feelings." At first, I thought they were just being practical in their own way. My parents had always framed things in terms of outcomes and finances. But then I started noticing other things. My father was spending more. A new SUV, renovations that didn't match what I knew about his business income. Small details that didn't add up, not yet, but enough to catch my attention. I did not say anything. I just watched. I listened more carefully. I paid attention to what was said, and more importantly, what was avoided. There were pauses in conversations that should have been simple, answers that felt rehearsed instead of natural. I had seen that pattern before, at work, right before something surfaced that wasn't supposed to be found. Then came the day on the staircase, and after that, I stopped asking myself why they were acting this way, because the answer no longer mattered. People don't push this hard, this quietly, unless there's something on the other side of it, something they need, something they're willing to take. I adjusted my hold on my daughter that night, long after we had left the house. She slept against me like nothing had happened, like the world was still safe. I sat there, watching her breathe, and for the first time, I let the thought fully form. This is not about me, and whatever they're hiding, it's worth more to them than I am, maybe even more than my daughter. Chapter 2. The call came exactly 1 week later, right as I was finishing a late audit at my desk. The number on the screen was not my father's cell. It was his office line. That alone told me this was not a conversation. It was an order. I let it ring once more before answering. His voice was calm, measured. "There is a family meeting tonight, 6:30. Be here." No greeting, no questions. I asked if Noah could come. A pause. "No, this is for family." The line went dead. I sat there for a moment, staring at the screen, feeling something settle deep in my chest. Not fear, not confusion, recognition. This was not about fixing anything. This was about control. When I got home, Noah was in the kitchen, holding Ellen against his shoulder. She was half asleep, her tiny hand curled against his shirt. He looked at me once and knew. What happened? "They want me there tonight. Family meeting." He frowned. "Do they want me there?" "No." His jaw tightened. "Then I am going anyway." I shook my head. "They will use that. They want me alone." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Then you do not go." I looked at Ellen. "If I do not go, they escalate. At least this way I see it coming." He studied me, then nodded once. "I will be right outside. The second you feel something is off, you walk out." I nodded. We drove there in silence. The house looked exactly the same, clean, quiet, untouched, like nothing bad had ever happened inside it. My mother appeared as soon as we stepped in. "You made it." Her eyes moved to Noah. "You can wait in the living room." He did not move. "I am here with my wife." Her smile thinned. "This is a private discussion." I touched Noah's arm gently. It's okay. He leaned in slightly. I'm right here. I walked into the dining room alone. They were already seated, my father at the head, my mother to his right, my brother across from her, leaning back like this was routine. For a second, it almost felt normal. Then I saw the documents, a thick stack, neatly arranged, prepared. My father tapped the papers once. Sit down. I sat. He pushed them toward me. Sign this. No explanation, just expectation. I opened the folder slowly. The first page hit me immediately. Temporary guardianship. My parents listed as legal custodians of my daughter. My grip tightened. I turned the page. Financial agreement. Monthly disbursements tied to compliance. I turned another. Legal language. Dense. Precise. Then I stopped. There was a clause. If I refused, they reserved the right to petition the court for custody review based on financial instability. My stomach dropped. This was not just pressure. They had already spoken to a lawyer. I looked up slowly. Why? Ethan answered before anyone else. Because you are not stable enough. I stared at him. Not stable? The same man who was drowning in debt? The same man who had collection notices stacked on his counter, and he was calling me unstable. I let the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable. Then I looked at my father. Is that what you believe? He did not hesitate. This is about protecting the family assets. There it was again. Assets. Not safety, not family. Assets. My mother leaned forward, her voice softer. You just had a baby. You are overwhelmed. You are emotional. You are not thinking clearly. The words were smooth, practiced, gaslighting wrapped in concern. I felt it try to pull me under. It did not work. I closed the folder carefully. You are asking me to give you control of my daughter. My father's expression stayed neutral, temporarily. And if I do not? He leaned back. Then you are choosing to walk away from this family support. Ethan added quietly, that includes the trust. I looked at him. What trust? He smirked slightly. You know what's at stake. I held his gaze. Then say it. He did not. My mother stepped in again. This is not about details. We are trying to help you. Help me? I repeated it slowly. By taking my child? No one answered. The silence told me everything. I felt Ellen's weight in my arms, even though she was not there. Instinct. Protect. No paper, no money, no name was worth her. I pushed the documents back across the table. No. The word landed heavier than I expected. Something shifted instantly. My father's eyes hardened. My mother's expression went cold. Ethan leaned forward now. You are making a mistake. I stood up. Maybe. I picked up my bag. But it's mine. My father spoke again, his tone sharper now. Then don't expect anything from us. No financial support, no inheritance, nothing. I paused. For a second, the old instinct whispered, fix this, negotiate. I ignored it. I walked out. Noah was already standing when he saw me. We are leaving. We stepped outside into the evening air. The door closed behind us with a soft click that felt louder than anything inside that house. Halfway to the car, my phone started vibrating, one message after another. Aunt Carl, you are overreacting. Uncle David, they are trying to protect you. Cousin Rachel, don't destroy your family over pride. I stared at the screen. Same words, same tone. No one asking what actually happened. No one questioning why they wanted my child. Either they didn't know, or they chose not to know. Another message came through. Ethan, you are going to regret this. I did not respond. Another one followed. You have no idea what's at stake. This time I stopped. I typed back, then tell me. The typing bubble appeared, then disappeared. No answer. I lowered the phone slowly. The streetlights flickered on, casting long shadows across the road. I leaned back in my seat, staring out through the windshield. They were not asking for my trust. They were asking for my daughter. And if they were willing to threaten court, to involve lawyers, to turn the entire family against me just to get control, then whatever they were protecting was not just valuable, it was dangerous. For the first time, I felt something shift inside me. I was done reacting. Now, I was going to find out what they were hiding. Chapter 3. I did not confront them. I did not warn them. I started paying attention to everything they thought I would ignore. The next morning, I opened my laptop before sunrise. The house was still, the kind of silence that made even the hum of the refrigerator sound louder. Alin was asleep in the next room, and I kept the baby monitor beside my keyboard, the soft rhythm of her breathing grounding me. This was no longer just about money. I pulled up every record I could find tied to my father's business. Hale Property Group had always been presented as stable, modest, predictable. That was the story they told. But the numbers did not match what I had seen. A new SUV, full renovation, contractors for weeks. None of it aligned with the income reported in their filings. I started documenting everything: dates, transactions, property values, patterns. If something was wrong, it would leave a trail. By the third day, I hit resistance. Records were incomplete. Some filings were restricted. Others were missing entirely. That was not normal. Companies like this did not just lose paperwork. They hid it. I leaned back, staring at the screen, then reached for my phone. There was one place they would never expect me to go. 2 days later, I drove to a long-term care facility just outside Louisville. That was where they had moved my grandmother. Her name was Margaret Hale. According to my parents, she had advanced cognitive decline, memory loss, confusion, not capable of making decisions. That was the narrative. At the front desk, I gave her name. The nurse looked at the screen, then at me. "You're her granddaughter." I nodded. The nurse hesitated, then softened slightly. "She's been asking about you." My chest tightened. That was the first break in their story. I followed her down a quiet hallway. The air smelled sterile, controlled. The room was at the end. The door was slightly open. I stepped inside. My grandmother was sitting upright by the window. She turned before I said anything. Her eyes met mine instantly, clear, focused, sharp. "You took your time," she said. No confusion, no hesitation, just recognition. I walked closer slowly. "They told me you weren't well." She let out a quiet breath. "They need me to be." I sat down across from her. For the next hour, we talked. Not fragments, not confusion, full memory, details, context. She remembered Noah, she remembered Elin, she even asked about a conversation we had years ago about leaving this state. There was nothing wrong with her mind, nothing. At one point, she leaned closer, lowering her voice. "They bring me papers," she said. My stomach tightened. What kind of papers? Things to sign. Her fingers moved slightly, as if tracing invisible lines. "They tell me it's routine." I held her gaze. "Did you sign them?" A pause. Then she nodded once. "They told me what to say." The words landed hard. That was not confusion. That was control. When I stepped out of the room, my pulse had picked up. The hallway felt different now, less quiet, less safe. I found the attending physician near the nurse's station. Her badge read Dr. Lauren Kim. "I need to ask you something," I said. She looked up carefully. "This is about your grandmother." "Yes." "I cannot discuss patient details." "I understand that," I said, "but I just spent an hour with her. She is coherent, she is aware. This does not match her records." Dr. Kim hesitated. Then she glanced down the hallway, lowering her voice slightly. "Your grandmother is more aware than her chart indicates." I stepped closer. "Why would her chart say otherwise?" Another pause. I would ask why her condition appears worse on paper than in person. Is someone influencing this? She held my gaze for a moment. I cannot answer that, but she did not deny it. As I walked out of the facility, a strange feeling settled in my chest. I slowed near the parking lot. There was a black sedan parked 2 rows over, engine running, no one inside that I could see. For a second, I stood there watching. Then I shook it off and kept walking. Maybe it was nothing, maybe it was not. When I got home, I locked the door behind me and went straight to my laptop. Now I knew what I was looking for. Money flow, authority, legal control. I dug deeper. I paid for restricted access, cross-checked filings, compared timelines. Hours passed. Then I found it. A recurring transfer, monthly, from Hale Property Group to a personal account, my father's name. The amounts varied, but the pattern was consistent, quiet, hidden. I took screenshots, backed everything up, saved copies in multiple locations. Then I called an attorney. His name was Daniel Reeves. He reviewed the documents carefully, scrolling slowly. "This is concerning," he said. "I need more than concerning." He nodded. "If this is accurate, this is not just a civil issue." I held his gaze. "What are you saying?" "This could be criminal." The word settled heavily in the room. Fraud, possibly financial exploitation, depending on how authority was obtained. I thought about my grandmother in that room. "They are controlling her," I said. He nodded slightly. "Then you need proof of that control. Coercion, misrepresentation, something direct." "I will get it." He studied me for a moment. "Be careful. If they realize you're looking into this, they will not sit back." I already knew that. That night, after Noah and Alin were asleep, I went back to the records. The baby monitor glowed softly beside me. I glanced at it more than once, watching her breathe. This was no longer just about uncovering the truth. It was about protecting her from whatever this was becoming. I searched for the will. The latest version was dated 2019. I opened it. Read it once, then again. Everything looked correct, structure, language. Then I focused on the signature. Something felt off. I zoomed in, compared to older documents. It was similar, but not identical. Not enough to prove anything, but enough to question. They didn't make a mistake. They rewrote the truth. I leaned back, then searched deeper. Archived records, older filings, anything. It took time. Then I found it. An earlier version of the will. I opened it, and everything changed. Different beneficiaries, different structure, different control. I sat there, completely still. This was not a revision. This was a replacement. I printed both versions, laid them side by side, documented every difference, saved copies everywhere, cloud, external drive, physical file hidden away. For the first time, I wasn't guessing anymore. I wasn't reacting. I had evidence. I had motive, and I understood why they were so desperate. I looked at the documents again, then at the baby monitor. If they were willing to rewrite legal documents, manipulate medical records, and threaten custody for this, then this was not just fraud. This was planned, and I was the only one who knew. Chapter 4. I did not rush. I let them believe they were still in control. For 2 days, I said very little. I answered messages just enough to sound uncertain. I let my voice soften when I spoke to my mother. I let pauses stretch long enough to feel like doubt. They thought I was breaking. That was the point. Then I called her. "I have been thinking." Her voice changed immediately. Relief slipped through before she could hide it. "That is good. This has been very hard on everyone." Everyone. Not me, not Ellen. Everyone. "I do not want this to get worse," I said quietly. "It will not," she replied quickly. "We can fix this." Fix? Like I was something damaged. She invited me to dinner that night. Just family, calm, private. I agreed. After I hung up, I sat still for a moment. Then I stood, grabbed my keys, and left. I drove back to the facility. My grandmother was already awake when I walked in. She looked at me with a kind of quiet certainty. "You are ready," she said. "I need everything," I replied. She nodded slowly and reached into the drawer beside her bed. Her hands were steady this time. She pulled out a sealed envelope and placed it in my hands. Original copy. I opened it carefully. Inside was the will. Not the version I had found online. This one was clean, consistent, untouched. The names were different. The control was different. The structure made sense. This was the truth. "You thought you would not remember," I said. She gave a small, knowing smile. "You thought I was already gone." I looked at her for a long second. "I am going to stop them." "I know," she said. When I left, I did not feel uncertain anymore. I felt precise. I went straight to Daniel. This time he did not hesitate. He reviewed everything quickly, comparing documents, marking differences. "This is enough," he said. "For what?" "For moving forward." His tone was different now, firm. "This is not just a dispute. This is fraud, financial exploitation, potential elder abuse." The words landed exactly where they needed to. "How soon?" I asked. "We file immediately. And once we do, this does not stay contained." "Good." He looked at me carefully. "Are you ready for that?" I thought about the papers on that table, about the way they looked at me like I was disposable, about Ellen. "I am not protecting them anymore." We prepared everything. Every transfer documented, every signature compared, every inconsistency flagged. I made copies of everything: cloud, external drive, printed folder. Nothing could disappear. At home, Noah watched me as I organized the files. "You are sure about this?" he said. "Yes. This is not just an argument anymore." "I know." He stepped closer. "Then you do not walk in alone." "I will not." That night, the house looked exactly the same. Warm lights, clean table, controlled smiles. A perfect illusion. I stepped inside. My mother greeted me first. "I'm glad you came." Her voice was soft, careful. My father stood near the table, composed as always. My brother leaned against the counter, watching, waiting. They thought they were about to finish this. We sat down. For a moment, no one spoke. Then my father looked at me. "Are you ready to fix this?" I met his eyes. I already did. The shift was immediate, small, subtle, but I saw it. I placed the folder on the table, slowly, deliberately. "What is this?" my mother asked. "Your problem," I said. I opened the folder. One document at a time. Bank transfers, dates, amounts, patterns. My father did not reach for them. He just watched. I placed the next set down. The will from 2019. Then the original, side by side. My mother's hand began to shake. "This is not necessary," she said, her voice thinner now. "It is," I replied. Ethan pushed off the counter. "You are embarrassing yourself." I looked at him calmly. "No, I am embarrassing you." I turned another page. Signature comparisons, highlighted differences. Then the final document, the account records, my father's name, and beneath it, my mother's. The room went silent, completely silent. My mother stepped back, her breathing uneven now. My brother looked between them, confusion turning into something sharper. "What is this?" he asked. No one answered. My father's jaw tightened. "Where did you get this?" I did not respond. I did not need to. The front door opened. Footsteps moved through the house, measured, controlled. Daniel stepped into the room. Behind him, my grandmother. She walked in slowly, steady, her presence cutting through the silence. My mother gasped. Ethan froze. My father did not move. My grandmother looked at him directly. You should have checked if I was actually gone. For the first time in my life, my father had no immediate response. He opened his mouth, then stopped. That was the moment. The control was gone. Daniel stepped forward, placing his own folder on the table. We are filing this first thing in the morning, he said. These documents show unauthorized transfers, altered legal instruments, and clear misrepresentation of mental capacity. My mother shook her head, her voice breaking now. This is a misunderstanding. I looked at her. No, I said quietly. It is not. Ethan took a step back. This is insane. I held his gaze. No, you just didn't know how deep it went. My father finally spoke again, but his voice was different now. Lower, less certain. You walk away from this and we can still fix it. I thought about Ellen, about the night on the stairs, about everything they were willing to do. No, I said. The word landed harder than anything else in that room. I'm done protecting you. Silence followed. Heavy. Final. No one argued. No one tried to explain. Because they couldn't. For the first time, they were not controlling the story. They were inside it. And the next time I saw them, it would not be in this house.
Chapter 5. It did not end in one moment. There was no single day where everything collapsed. It happened the way truth usually does, quietly at first, then all at once. The first sign was not a confrontation. It was a notice. Filed, processed, delivered. Daniel moved quickly, but never rushed. Every document we had built became part of something larger, a structure they could not push back against. The civil case was only the beginning. Asset control, breach of fiduciary duty, misuse of authority. On paper, it sounded contained. In reality, it opened the door to everything else. Within days, accounts were flagged, then reviewed, then frozen. I did not need to see it to understand what it meant. Access was gone. Movement stopped. For the first time, they could not shift things behind closed doors. Hallberg Properties came under review next. What started as an audit expanded into a full financial investigation. Internal records were pulled, transactions examined, signatures questioned. Patterns emerged, and once they did, they could not be ignored. Daniel called me that week. There are going to be charges, he said. I did not speak right away. Not just civil, he continued, criminal. I closed my eyes for a moment, not out of shock, out of recognition. It had reached the point where it could not be contained anymore. What happens now? I asked. They will try to delay it, but it will not stop. It did not. Subpoenas followed, requests for records, interviews. Every layer they had built started to come apart. My father did not lose everything in one moment. He lost it in pieces. First, his authority inside the company, decisions questioned, then reversed, then removed, then his reputation. People who once waited for his approval stopped returning his calls. Meetings he would have led moved forward without him. His name, which once carried weight, started to carry questions. He was no longer the man people answered to. He was the man being questioned. My mother tried to hold the image together. For a while, she managed it. Careful statements, controlled appearances. But evidence does not bend. Documents surfaced, transfers traced, signatures compared. And once it was visible, there was nothing left to protect. The story changed, and she could not control it anymore. Ethan called me again. This time I answered sooner. I did not know it would go this far, he said.
His voice was strained. I did not think it was real. I listened. I thought it was just paperwork, something Dad handled. It was real, I said. I see that now. There was a long pause. I am not asking you to fix anything, he added. I just needed you to know I did not understand. I thought about that, about what he chose not to see, about how easy it is to stay comfortable when the truth benefits you. I believe you, I said, and I did, but belief did not change anything. I cannot undo it, he said. I know. That was the end of it. Not dramatic, not angry, just finished. My grandmother was released from care soon after. She walked out with a kind of quiet strength that felt unshakable. They thought time was on their side, she said as we drove away. They forgot it moves for everyone. With Daniel's help, everything was restructured immediately. A legal trust, clear oversight, full transparency. Every asset placed exactly where it belonged. They cannot reach this, Daniel confirmed. She nodded. They will not try again. At home, life did not suddenly become easy, but it became steady. Noah stayed exactly the way he had always been. Present, unmoving, certain. You feel different, he said. I am. How? I looked toward the stairs, where Ellen's room was quiet. I am not waiting for permission anymore. He understood. He always did. Ellen was safe. That was the only outcome that truly mattered. Everything else was secondary. The investigation continued. Slow, precise, unavoidable. Depositions were taken, statements recorded. Every attempt to delay only made the situation worse for them. More attention, more scrutiny, more truth. I was not there when my father was questioned, but I heard enough. He tried to control the room, Daniel told me. He couldn't. I nodded, because control had always been his advantage, and now it was gone, completely. My mother requested to meet, privately, through her attorney. I declined. There was nothing she could offer that I needed, not anymore. Weeks passed, then months, and eventually the outcome became clear. Charges were filed, formal, documented, public. Not everything ended in a courtroom, but enough did. Enough to establish what had happened, enough to make it real, enough to make it final. I did not go to see them. I did not need to. The consequences were already in motion, and they did not require my presence. One afternoon, Daniel called again. It's done, he said. Not everything, but everything that mattered. I sat in silence after the call ended. There was no surge of victory, no overwhelming release, just a quiet certainty. Everything was where it was supposed to be. That was enough. That night, Noah and I sat outside while Ellen played nearby. The air was still. Nothing felt fragile anymore. You ever think about them? He asked. Sometimes. And? I watched Ellen laugh as she ran across the yard. They made their choices. He nodded. And you? I made mine. That was the difference. I didn't get everything back. Not the time, not the version of my family I once believed in, but I got something more important. Control, clarity, the ability to decide what stays in my life and what does not. I did not need apologies. I did not need them to admit anything. The truth had already done its work, quietly, completely. I was not the same person they thought they could control, and I never would be again. If you've ever been in a place where your voice felt smaller than someone else's power, where everything around you was shaped without your consent, remember this. You don't have to be louder. You have to be certain. And when you finally see things clearly, don't turn away. Because justice is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's slow. But when it arrives, it puts everything back where it belongs. If you were in my place, would you have stayed silent or would you have fought back? And if this story meant something to you, stay with us. There are more stories waiting, and sometimes hearing them is how we remember who we really are.